Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are doing something I never thought I would do, which is to review a wrestling figure. I'm not into wrestling at all, and I've had many people request that I review a wrestling figure for a long time, or wrestling figures in general, not just one. And on the stream the other night, somebody asked me about wrestling. I said when I was a kid, I liked Ultimate Warrior, even though I didn't know anything about wrestling. I just thought he had I guess probably because of the face paint, I don't know. Thought he was cool. I don't remember him, by the way. I don't remember him having mostly pink. I remember it being green and orange and white, his coloring. So if anybody can comment on that, I would appreciate it. Anyway, so somebody, a nice viewer, commented, messaged me on Instagram. His name is Nick. He said, hey, I'll buy this for you if you review it. It's on sale right now. Would you do that? So I said, sure, if you really want to. So he did. And so this is it. So we're going to review an Ultimate Warrior, Ultimate Edition, Ultimate Articulation for Authentic Posability action figure. It's weird the way they do their packaging, honestly. Anyway, we're going to review it. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just shy of 18 centimeters. That's going to make him roughly 7 inches, almost exactly 7 inches. Here he is up against Darwin. This guy's supposed to be 6'2" in real life, so these are, as far as I can tell, very close to not even close to 1/12 scale. So I don't know what scale they're trying to be. It's like 7-inch scale almost, but not quite, so that's very strange. Granted, Darwin's not scale either, but whatever. Okay, so question of the day. Is this the manliest looking figure I've ever reviewed? I'm gonna say it probably isn't. You guys can let me know what you think. Okay, so I don't know much about this line. I know that MSRP is like $33. It's something like that. And this was on sale. I don't know if they go on sale regularly, but this is like top end pricing for Marvel Legends, and it is from Mattel. It is from Mattel, isn't it? Yes. Okay, so that's how we're kind of looking at this from the basically high-end Marvel Legends standpoint. I was told that the sculpt is not reused as much as you would think, that they have generally unique bodies for most of the figures, so that's a good thing, definitely. And I have to say, the sculpt is pretty good. It's definitely a little weird where they have the butterfly joint cooked in, but it's still pretty good. It's a much better superhero build than like every Marvel Legends figure other than the Caliban body. So I'm definitely okay with that. Musculature, it's not super sharp sculpt, but it's definitely good enough as far as being realistic. I think that's fine. I will say, once you get above $30, I don't think that the plasticky looking figures is gonna cut it. Like, I don't mind paying 30 plus for a NECA figure because they have really nice paint jobs and super clean sculpts and they're like realistic or stylized or whatever. This still looks like a fancy Marvel Legends essentially, and is coming in at $35. So I'm personally thinking that's too expensive. But I do like generally what they're doing here. It does have a buttload of paint on it. Let's look at the face. That face paint is pretty darn clean. It's not perfect, but if you're not zoomed in with the camera, it's gonna look fine. There is shading in the hair, so that's nice. There's no shading anywhere in the body. We have the multicolored tassels on his arms. Accurate to the source material, which is a real person. More paint job down here and down here. And then his diaper is really well painted. That looks exactly like it did. And then we have more paint work on it. Like, it's just loaded with detail. So I'm thinking, like, compared to what Hasbro gives, this is a lot better. For $35 at Hasbro, you get a reissue of a PlayStation 5 Spider-Man, and that's it. And this comes with a bunch of accessories. So I'm thinking it looks pretty good overall. The head sculpt is a little janky, and I'll show you more on the unmasked one. But otherwise, it looks pretty darn good. I do think it's a little weird that they have, the way they do their molding, you can see the lines on the outside part of the muscles. That's unusual. You don't usually get that for something like a shoulder. The rest seems pretty reasonable. But yeah, it looks, I gotta say, it looks pretty good compared to something from Hasbro, which would be Mattel's like closest counterpart. This looks pretty darn good. So I'll give the aesthetic an 9. I gotta go 9 because of the detailed paint stuff around. I don't like that it's shiny, but it is a sweaty naked man, so I guess that's okay. And then otherwise it's just really the head sculpt that's a problem. So let's go ahead and get into the accessories. You do have the one masked head that you saw on him already, and then you get the unmasked head. And I don't think that's a great sculpt or paint job. It does not really look like the guy, and it looks kind of amateurish. So I'm not in love with that, but you do get shading on the hair. For hands, you get the 2 clenchy hands that come on them in the package. Then you get 2 pointy finger hands and 2 wide open hands. That should be enough, I imagine. I think, though, maybe fist hands. Why don't they have fist hands? Don't wrestlers pretend to punch people a bunch? I'm sorry. Don't wrestlers punch people a whole bunch and it's super real? I think so he should have fist hands. And then we do get his jacket, or whatever this is. I'm gonna just look at this, not in a photo because it's too 3D. It's some kind of cloth, like pleathery material, but it is painted, or however you color something like this. It's probably digital printing, really well, and it's really accurate to what it looked like. So that's impressive. Hasbro's never done anything even close to this, and they have nailed it. And then you also do get, I'll just show this one in person too. You get this with also really incredibly well done paint all the way around. Look at that. Little tiny wrestler people on his shoulder pads. This one's green. It's not pink, it's pink instead of orange, but this one's mostly green. Do they have a green one? I'm gonna have to look into Ultimate Warrior now, just because as a kid, I had like a real crappy little figure of it, and there's a little bit of nostalgia attached there. But yeah, this is done really well. So accessory-wise, it's really good, other than the face is not great and he's missing fist hands. So I'm still gonna go 9 out of 10 though, because the clothing part is incredibly well done. And I'm guessing that's why this is part of that Ultimate series. You get more accessories. I'm guessing that. I don't know. Maybe the articulation's better because it's not now a diaphragm joint than it used to be. So there's that. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the articulation. I'm very disappointed to say Mattel has not learned how to do a simple barbell or double ball peg. If you look at this in there closely, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell since you haven't cracked one open yourself. What they have at the end of that peg at the bottom is an actual loop that goes around a rod that goes front to back. So that allows it to lean side to side by rolling or rocking on that rod. And then just that the loop isn't tight allows it to lean forward and back. You can kind of see it in there, hopefully. Just underneath that too is just a loop. So yeah, instead of making it a true double ball peg, it's some weird thing that doesn't work anywhere near as well. And you can see right there, it's not going to have any range, practically speaking. So that's definitely a disappointment, but he does look around a little bit. It's a little bit looser than I would like, but of course you get the rotation, a little bit of leaning, and it'll probably get the job done well enough. Butterfly joint on this guy does go back nicely, so that's good, no problem there. Everybody makes him go back well. Can it go forward well? Yeah, not so much, not really. And it's weird the way they cut this, because normally you would have a cut up here for somebody like Spider-Man so they can bring their arms together and do like a web swing. But the way it's sculpted, you can't even get the arms up into that notch. So maybe they just did that to try to hide it a little bit. I'm guessing try to hide the diaphragm, or I keep calling it a diaphragm joint, the butterfly joint, so I don't know. But it works well enough going back and a little bit going forward. The shoulders go up better than horizontal by just a little bit, so that's fine. And of course, you're going to get your full rotation. Bicep swivel is fine, no problem. These are separate pieces, by the way. Double jointed elbow, pinless, by the way. Everybody's so excited for Hasbro doing pinless joints. It's not new. It doesn't look like it's going to have that much range, but then you get better than 90, so that's okay. They could have even eked out a little bit more, but they didn't. This is also a separate piece, so you can rotate that if you want to. The wrists, of course, have a swivel and a hinge. For the diaphragm joint, let's see. Goes back really far, so kind of like the butterfly joint. That's pretty good. Going forward, not so much. I imagine you could take that apart and Dremel it if you really wanted to, but be careful. And then going side to side, that's pretty solid. And of course, you get your rotation at the waist and a little bit, but mostly not. Just a tiny, tiny bit at the diaphragm. So for the hips, they're technically drop-down hips, which not generally a good thing, but these ones only do it just a tiny bit, and they're not loose. So if you're going to do it, this is okay. Going forward, you get that much range without the drop-down. With the drop-down, you can get them up like that, so that's okay. It does create some gapping. I would much rather just see a well-engineered normal hip, but it does work. And then going out to the side, you kind of have to use the drop-down because of his little tassel thingies over here. But you get out to the side pretty well, and he can basically do the splits. So I'll take it. As far as drop-downs go, those are okay. Thigh swivel is a thigh swivel double jointed knee, not pinless. And the knee pad is a separate piece, so it gets in the way. The knees would work better without the knee pads. naturally. All right, you do get a shin swivel or a boot swivel if you want that. Then the ankles are trash. Hot garbage. I don't know what they did here. Why they... Like, everything else works pretty well, but these ankles have virtually no range going forward or back. The ankle rocker is old school and horribly executed. Old school is fine. I don't mind a classic ankle rocker like that. But you can't have a giant gap, and it needs to actually do more than just a little wiggle. So that's a bummer. Toe joint is in the good place. It's well sculpted, and it's not super loose, so I'll take that. So, ultimately, the articulation on this guy is not bad. Could it be better? Absolutely. The ankles are pretty bad. The rest is pretty good, with a little bit of room for improvement. So I'm going to give it an 8. It's solid, definitely decent, and could be a little bit better. Okay, so now it's time for the final verdict. For $35, if I was already into collecting things like Marvel Legends and I was a wrestling fan, I think that would be at the top end of maybe for people, whatever they are, that I would want to buy. It does come with some nice accessories, but for $35, you're still getting a very plasticky figure. You know what I mean? It's not something like, hold on, here, perfect example. This is $35 figure, which looks like a real human that's tiny. This is a $35 figure that looks like a kid's toy, comparatively speaking. So that's what I'm saying. I think 35 is still pushing it. I think these domestic companies that are the big ones are really, really sticking it to their consumers at this point. It's perfectly good figure. Definitely better than Marvel Legends coming in at the same price point. But that's not really a good standard to use because those are nowhere near worth $35 either. So I'm going to give it a final rating of, if you don't care about the price, 8.5. And if you do care about the price, maybe like a 7, because it's definitely too expensive. So there it is, my first ever wrestling figure review. And if I can track down a figure like this of him in colors that I don't hate, like pink and white and purple and yellow, maybe I'll get another one and we'll have a second wrestling figure review, but that'll probably be it. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.